Person brings back Ted Kaufman, former U.S. Senator from Delaware and a man who has a pretty good handle on what is happening in Washington. For years served as an aide to then Senator Joe Biden. Senator Kaufman, welcome. It's good to see you again.
Good to be here.
At least you probably used to think you had a good handle on the way things were done in Washington. How do you characterize the current impasse, the government shutdown, and compare it to your time there and your history of what's going on now?
You know, I get asked that a lot, and I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 months, we are totally in uncharted waters. If someone tells you they know how this is going to turn out, don't listen to them, because they don't know. You have so many different factors at play here. But we've never really dealt with a debt limit and shutdown of government at the same time. And that's a pretty powerful 1-2 punch for the country. But we're totally in uncharted waters. It's anybody's guess about how this is all going to work out.
What sort of is the, I guess, worst case scenario as all this plays out? How bad is it? What could happen?
Oh no, it could be very bad. I mean, it could. I'm not saying it is going to be very bad, but you know, so much in finance and marketing and economics is people's attitudes. And the United States has been the one. If you look at the United States dollar is the largest reserve currency in the world. U.S. Treasury bills are used around the world as the safest thing you possibly invest in. When you shake that up, the short-term and long-term consequences could be truly dire. Some people compared it to what happened when Lehman Brothers went down, that people question. I do not believe that's the case, and I hope we'll settle this beforehand. But I think we're playing with, I think some people in the country are playing with fire.
You spent 2 years in the Senate as a member, and decades before that as a key aide to Vice President Biden. Is this a political fight? Is it Democrats versus Republican thing, or is it something different?
No, it is something different. It's not a political fight. I mean, it's not a political straight up Democrats, Republicans, because what you have here is you have a small, not small, large minority, but a minority in the House of Representatives, new people, and a few people in the Senate, like Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, and Cliff Lee, the senator from Utah. They've just decided that they're going to take the debt limit and the shutdown and use that as an example to get something done they want, which is to defund Obamacare. There's no, for all the years I've been involved, as far back as I can look, it was a joint responsibility to pass the debt limit and keep the government running. Now, we've had periods where we've shut down the government, short periods. We've had a large, it was 25 days or something like that in '96. But so shut down the government is not new, although we haven't done it for 17 years. Default on the debt, that doesn't mean people didn't vote against vote against the bill to fund the government, to avoid a debt limit when we got to the debt limit, increase the debt limit. People voted for that. In fact, I remember one year President Obama voted against it. But at that point, it was like some people would get up, a minority would get up and make a statement. They say, we're really got to do something about the deficit, and therefore I'm going to vote against it. Never any chance that it was going to be defeated. But clearly, it's clear now that a group in the House and Senate, and some of the think tanks downtown, like the Heritage Foundation, just said, look, this is our opportunity to really change the way the country operates, and in a very, very fundamental way. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to use what power we have, which is less than the majority in one House. The majority of Republicans, but not a majority of people that agree with, I think, what Jim DeMint was talking about. And we're going to use that to go to the president and the Democrats in the Senate and say, if it's our way or the highway. And so that's never been done before. So I think it's very discouraging to me. And it goes back to something I learned a long time ago when I started in 1973 about the Congress, and what I learned in the private sector about institutions. Institutions are only good as the people that are running them. And we can have I remember people talk about, we're going to have a balanced budget constitutional amendment, that's going to solve our problem. That's not going to solve your problem. You have to have people in the government, like we did during the 1990s, who made a basic decision led by George H.W. Bush, President George H.W. Bush, when he broke his pledge on read my lips, no new taxes, and then followed on by Bill Clinton when in 1993 it was, he passed what is called by the Newt Gingrich the largest tax increase in history. And we developed more revenues, we cut back on expenses, and we ran 3 or 4 years of surpluses. We can do that again. That's the way to do it. But this approach by a small number of folks, and one of the big differences is this. 40 years I was involved. Republicans and Democrats had a difference of opinion. a lot of difference of opinion, but the main difference of opinion was the Democrats thought the government was a force for good, and the government could be used to help people that couldn't maybe help themselves and didn't have the power to help themselves. The Republicans believed that government was something we should be doing, but if the private sector do it, we should do it there. What you have now, when you listen, and I ask every one of the folks watching this to listen to what is being said by the folks in the House of Representatives, listen to what Ted Cruz says, Senator Ted Cruz, listen to what Senator Cliff Lee says. And it basically is they don't believe we should have government. I mean, basically, if government shuts down, it's okay with us because we got a bigger thing to sell. If we default on our debt, that's okay because we got a bigger thing to sell. And I think that really is at the heart of the problem. It's a new group. They're young. Probably one of the greatest arguments against term limits that I've ever seen. Because when you look around at who's causing the problems right now, who the gridlock's being caused by, I think everybody can agree it's the new folks. It's the new people in the Congress, not the people that have been around for a long time.
And you think they're not for limited government? They're sort of anti-government in a way.
Exactly. And again, I'm not sure they don't perceive themselves that way. But when you listen to what they say, it's like the House of Representatives has passed this whole series of bills. Oh my gosh, you know what? The veterans benefits, we got to do something about that. Or this horrible thing down at Dover Air Force Base. Senator Carl Levin went on the floor of the Senate before we passed this bill and the arguments against the shutdown and said, look, if we do this, this is what's going to happen. He spelled exactly what's going to happen. None of this was a surprise. They talk about, the museums. We had this one member of the House of Representatives criticizing a park ranger for not letting people into the World War II memorial and saying you should be ashamed of yourself when he, in fact, was the one that passed it. It's like they don't really appreciate what all the wonderful things the federal government does and how important the federal government is, and they pass this shutdown. Now they say, oh my gosh, look at all these bad things that are happening. What we're going to do is we're going to go back and put a piece together. One of the senators had a great thing. He says, like taking a pottery vase, smashing it, and then say, what we're going to do is we're going to put it back piece to piece. What we need to do is we need to place a clean, continuing resolution. Then what we have to do is we have to raise the debt level. And then I think we can sit down and talk about all these other issues that are legitimate issues to be discussed.